Why saving money keeps you poor. They told you saving money was the path to freedom. Get a stable job, spend less, consistently wait patiently, and if you followed that formula long enough, eventually you'd become financially secure. But here's the uncomfortable reality nobody wants to admit. Millions of people have spent their entire lives saving money, and still never escaped financial pressure because the system rewards ownership far more than obedience. While average people are taught to protect money, wealthy are taught to multiply it. And that psychological difference changes everything. The poor fear losing money, the powerful fear leaving money stagnant. So before we go deeper, type "money must move" in the comments. And if you want more videos exposing the hidden psychology behind wealth, power, and financial control, subscribe now. Because the rules keeping most people trapped financially are rarely explained publicly. Saving money feels responsible. That's why almost everyone is taught to do it from childhood. Put money aside, avoid risk. Build a safety net, live below your means. And on the surface, that advice sounds intelligent. Because technically, saving is better than reckless spending. But here's the problem nobody explains. Saving money alone was never designed to make ordinary people wealthy. It was designed to make them stable enough to survive. There's a difference, and that difference changes the entire way you look at money. See, the average person treats money like something fragile, something to protect, hold, reserve. But wealthy people often see money differently. To them, money is a tool, a worker. An asset that should constantly be moving, multiplying, and acquiring leverage. That's why the rich rarely allow large amounts of capital to sit still for long periods of time. Because stagnant money slowly loses power. Inflation eats it. Opportunity cost destroys it. Time weakens it. Meanwhile, the average worker is psychologically trained to believe keeping money untouched is financial intelligence. And this conditioning starts early. Schools teach obedience more than financial strategy. Jobs reward consistency more than ownership. Society praises security more than leverage. So people spend decades doing exactly what they were told. Save carefully, work harder, avoid risk, only to realize later that the system quietly moved ahead without them. Because wealth is rarely built through saving alone. It's built through ownership of businesses, assets, equity, real estate, intellectual property, systems that generate value while you sleep. That's the game wealthy people learn early. A worker exchanges time for money. An owner builds structures that produce money independently of time. And those two paths create completely different futures. Think about it carefully. If someone saves $500 every month for years, that requires discipline. But if another person uses that same money to acquire income-producing assets, networks, skills, or scalable systems, eventually the gap between them becomes massive. Not because one worked harder, because one understood multiplication while the other focused only on preservation. This is why many financially intelligent people are comfortable taking calculated risks. Not reckless risks, strategic ones. Because they understand something average people fear deeply. Money sitting still is often more dangerous than money in motion. Now, this doesn't mean saving is useless. Emergency funds matter, financial discipline matters, stability matters. But there's a dangerous psychological trap hidden inside excessive saving. It creates the illusion of progress. A person watches their savings account slowly grow and feels financially secure, while inflation quietly reduces purchasing power every single year. Meanwhile, asset owners are benefiting from appreciation, leverage, cash flow, tax advantages, and compound growth. That's why the wealthy focus heavily on acquiring assets instead of simply storing cash. Cash protects temporarily, assets create power. And once you understand that distinction, you begin realizing why so many hardworking people stay financially stuck, despite doing everything correctly. They were trained to survive financially, not to expand financially. Look at the behavior of the average worker. They save money after expenses. The wealthy often invest before comfort. That mindset difference alone creates entirely different outcomes over decades. Because comfort rarely creates financial acceleration. Leverage does. This is also why many rich individuals appear less emotionally attached to money itself. Poor and middle-class individuals often see money as security. The wealthy often see money as ammunition, something meant to be deployed strategically. That's why billionaires continue investing aggressively even after becoming wealthy. Because they understand accumulation without expansion eventually becomes weakness. And the system quietly reinforces this. Banks use your deposits to generate profit. Corporations reinvest capital constantly. Investors acquire assets during fear cycles. Private equity firms buy undervalued businesses while ordinary people panic and hold cash. In other words, people at the top understand movement creates power. while the average person is taught that stillness creates safety, and sometimes that belief becomes the very thing keeping them financially trapped, because over time, fear-based financial behavior creates invisible ceilings. People become afraid of uncertainty, afraid of investing, afraid of ownership, afraid of losing, so they stay in familiar routines that feel safe psychologically, even while those routines slowly limit their future financially. And that's the hidden danger nobody talks about. Saving money can protect you from short-term pain, but if saving becomes your entire financial strategy, it may also protect you from long-term wealth. The reality is, most people are not financially trapped because they lack intelligence. They are trapped because they were taught a defensive relationship with money. From childhood, they learned, don't lose money, don't take risks, stay realistic, play it safe. And over time, that conditioning becomes identity. People stop thinking like builders and start thinking like protectors. But wealth rarely comes from protection alone. It comes from expansion. That's why some of the wealthiest individuals in the world are willing to tolerate uncertainty most ordinary people avoid completely. Entrepreneurs risk failure. Investors tolerate volatility. Business owners sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term ownership. Not because they enjoy stress, because they understand something important. Financial growth usually lives on the other side of controlled discomfort. Meanwhile, the average person spends decades chasing stability. And stability can become addictive. A stable paycheck, a stable routine, a stable savings account. It feels safe psychologically. But in many cases, safety slowly turns into limitation, because while you are preserving your position, economic world continues moving aggressively around you. Prices rise, currencies weaken, opportunities shift, technology changes industries, entire markets evolve, and people who never learned how to adapt financially eventually get left behind despite working hard their entire lives. That's the painful part. Hard work alone is no longer enough in systems designed around leverage. And once you realize that, your relationship with money begins changing permanently. You stop asking, how much can I save? And start asking, how much can I build? That mindset shift is everything, because saving money has a ceiling. Ownership doesn't. A person can only save a limited amount from earned income, but scalable systems, assets, businesses, equity, investments, those can grow independently of your physical effort. That's why wealthy individuals become obsessed with acquiring things that produce value repeatedly. They want assets working while they sleep, systems generating income without constant labor, investments compounding quietly in the background, because true financial power is not created through constant effort alone. It's created through leverage. And leverage is what most people never learn, not because the information is hidden, because the average financial system was never designed to teach people how to think like owners. Workers keep economies functioning. Consumers keep corporations growing. Debt keeps systems expanding. But ownership? Ownership changes your position entirely. The moment you own assets instead of only laboring for income, you begin operating by different rules. And that's when money starts behaving differently around you. Now, this does not mean recklessly gambling your savings away. It does not mean chasing fake get-rich-quick fantasies online. And it definitely does not mean ignoring financial discipline. Real wealth still requires patience, strategy, emotional control, long-term thinking. But it also requires movement, calculated movement. Because money that never leaves safety rarely creates freedom. And maybe that's the uncomfortable truth behind all of this. Many people were taught financial habits designed for survival during older economic systems, while living inside a modern world built around aggressive capital growth. So they save harder, work longer, become more disciplined, yet still feel financially stuck. Not because they failed, because the rules changed. And the people who understand the new rules quietly pull further ahead every single year. So save wisely. But don't confuse saving with wealth creation. Learn skills, build leverage, acquire assets, understand ownership, study systems, think long-term. Because one day you'll realize the goal was never simply to hold money. The goal was to build a life where money no longer controls your decisions. And that's where we'll end this conversation. Until next time, protect your mind, protect your ambition, and remember, the people who escape financial pressure are usually the ones who stopped treating money like something to hide and started treating it like something to deploy strategically.